you were going to stay with. I didn't make a reservation for you.
My mind goes blank to hostility. We are on a family vacation, but we don't want to stay at a fancy hotel. My husband pretends not to be aware of her animosity toward me and walks away.
We'll see you at the checkout, Emily.
They leave me behind and disappear luxurious hotel. My name is Emily. I finally turned year. I'm a stay-at-home mom living with my husband, Spencer, my mother-in-law, my son, Cian, who just turned 3 this year. Spencer and I met on a blind date 7 and ended up marrying. We've been living an ordinary life with no big quarrels and are known to be very much in love among our neighbors. 2 years after we got married, we had a son. Spencer was busy with work, but he helped me with childcare. I had no complaints about him. We were living in a normal family environment, but after the birth of Cian, it started to deteriorate. 6 months ago, my father-in-law passed away and Kate moved in with us. The last time I saw her other than at your wedding was when Spencer and I announced our engagement, so it had been a long time since my first impression of her was not a good one. My father-in-law, on the other hand, was kind to me and gave me a very good job.
Spencer, are you sure she is the R for you? I'm worried she's going to give you time.
Remembered, she blatantly spoke her mind. Spencer tried hard to make her marriage work, but the way he looked at her was not very nice. We managed to get her approval after persuading her husband and Super. I still think that she shouldn't have made such remarks in front of me. I was worried if we could get along moved in with us. I tried to be positive and switched to do my best with her. When she and her belongings arrived house, I helped her unpack. She was very kind to Cian, who turned old. While she took care of him, Spencer unpacked. I asked him to take care of the heavy stuff, and I organized the small things. The unpacking went smoothly, and there was only a small amount of stuff left for me to do.
This is supposed to go over here. What kind of education did you go through?
It was a fake plant that could be put anywhere. I put it there to improve the atmosphere in the room, but Kate pointed it out that it was too much. Although I was disappointed with the response, I tried to think that she was just particular and moved it to the spot where it was needed. She looked after Cian for a little. I started watching TV without offering me. I didn't even have time to pay attention to him, but she scolded me for not watching him. I had my hands full of but I couldn't ask. Spencer, who was resting after carrying heavy things, to help. I finished tidying up with mixed feet. I tried to think that she was feeling unsettled about changing her living environment and pushed away my frustration for her. After that, her criticism continued day. One morning I woke up early, prepared breakfast for all of us, and tried rest.
The house is messy. If you have tin rest, clean it up.
She never gave me time to rest all. While she always criticized how I did things, she was hardly ever at home during daytime, let alone doing anything helpful. I was getting mentally strained by life. I decided to talk to Spencer about.
She must be having a hard time since she's gone. Take it easy on her.
He wasn't any help. Even though he knew how she didn't intervene, I used to put my hands on my forehead and drifted off to sleep in despair at night. Regardless of my feelings, my 3-year-old cried at night. Unable to bear the fatigue and sleep deprivation, I couldn't bring myself to get up, and Spence was at my side. Kate must have woken up by the noise me violently.
How are you still sleeping when you're crying? How can you leave it to Spencer? It's a woman's job.
She yelled at me for being exhausted and unable to move. I didn't want to make things worse. Quietly got up and went to Cian. I ended up getting no sleep that night. Spencer was off that day, so I didn't know what to cook for lunch.
Spencer is off today, so I'll make something 33.
Kate started preparing. When she put the meals on the table, one plate was missing.
It looks like one potion missing.
I made it for Spencer, who works, my grandson. Of course, there's no one like you. You're unique.
I was absolutely mortified. I had been wondering if she was bulimic, but it became clear at that point. It wasn't that I hadn't been aware for a long time. I couldn't stand her without thinking she was just being hard on me to make a better wife. If I didn't think that way, I wouldn't be here. I couldn't talk back to her because of my friend after I dropped off Scene at daycare.
That's definitely bullying. How are you holding up?
I told the details to my best friend childhood. She listened attentively and showed concern when I finally broke down in front of her. I had been fighting against my frustration and suppressing them at home for so long. She encouraged me by saying that I could do my best and that I would be okay.
I'll help you. We'll figure something out.
We parted as we both had things to home. Even though we didn't talk for very felt lighter, there were a few things my friend suggested. My friend suggested a few things. One was to put a bug in the house so that they could hear what was being said on a daily basis. I bought a cheap recorder on the way up Scene and then went home. Kate was out as usual, so she immediately put it in a discreet place. In the middle of cleaning, I picked a piece of paper that had fallen out drawer in Kate's room. When I opened it, I saw a personal loan agreement, and the amount was $20,000. I couldn't believe my eyes, but I thought this might be useful and put it in my pay pocket. After a while, Kate returned, and then Spencer came home just in time for dinner. We sat around the dinner table with complaints from Kate.
Oh, by the way, my friend gave me a coupon for a one-night stay at the Fifth Star Hotel.
The fact that she brought up the subject suggested that she wanted to go. Spencer was very much in favor of it. Son was also excited. I honestly didn't feel very enthusiastic, assuming it was going to be a horrible experience for me.
Well, since you're here and you're working so hard, you can come along.
I couldn't believe my ears. I was astounded to hear it from some had been harassing me so much. Maybe she meant well. I didn't want to think that she offered malice. She wanted to book everything at once. I couldn't sleep that night, so I tried to get up early the next morning, but it was still too dark outside. So I sat on the porch for a long time contemplating.
Hi, about the trip. Scene wants to know if you're interested in going. Mom won't watch him, and it's hard to do it alone, so I need you to come over.
You don't help me when I'm being treated so badly by your mother. I don't want to be in this situation anymore. Spencer couldn't say anything to that. Of course, I didn't want to do him while he turned blind eyes to my suffering caused by his own mother. He pleaded with me to join, so I gave condition.
Just as well, for starters, have this. I found it when I was cleaning room.
I showed him the IU I had in my pocket. He was stunned with disbelief on his. He couldn't believe that his own Moai debt of 20.
Can we help her pay this off? As her son, I can't just leave it as.
He asked me because I was in charge of managing our money. Of course, I declined it. I had no good intentions in helping my son, who mistreated me. I understood his feelings, but I couldn't accept them.
I beg you, please help me with the trip.
Only if you accept my conditions.
The first was that when Kate mistreated me, she must intervene. Write them down on a piece of paper and post them all over the house. If she couldn't agree to these conditions, we were going to kick her out. I proposed to Spencer, and he agreed them. We decided to start this after that. I asked my friend to post the rules house while we were away. We were to act as usual until the train arrived, and then we would drop the bomb. Spencer agreed to this, and I decided with him on the trip. The next day, I let Kate know that I was joining them and kept chanting, "Be patient," for a little longer. On the day of the trip, Spencer tooled everyone's bags, and we were about the house.
You don't need to carry the bags? I can do it.
Kate's bully started right away. He glanced at me apologetically. I obeyed her, thinking it was better to avoid any animosity for what was to come later. The bags were so heavy that it was me to carry them alone. On top of that, I had to take care. I supposed I wouldn't have any energy to enjoy the hotel. We took Amtrak a little further away, drove over a mountain road to both the exterior and interior were very beautiful and luxurious. Sean was very excited and went to see in there. Kate looked around, taking in the decor, and went to check us in at the front desk. Afterwards, I grabbed my bag and went to the room. What Kate said then blew me out of the hotel literally.
Were you planning on staying with us? Did you make a reservation for 3 people?
I had no idea what she was talking. I was at a loss for words right there. The only reason she invited me on this trip was to use me as a porter. She had no intention of letting me them from the beginning. Gradually understanding the situation, she asked him,
Then where should I sleep?
I don't know, and I don't care. Why don't you just camp out around there?
She asked me to join and then told to sleep out in the woods. Something was seriously wrong with. I couldn't help but feel enraged. I was about to yell at her, but she and my family disappeared into the hallway.
I'll see you at checkout time.
I stood in a lobby for a while and then went to my room. I knew there was a catch, but I wasn't forced to camp out. I was on the verge of tears. All I got from Spencer was a message saying, "I'm sorry." I couldn't even bring myself to reply. It was past noon when we arrived, so we had lunch at a random cafe and found a field where I could see the night sky. As soon as I arrived at the field, a call from my friend.
Hey, how's the trip going? I was just wondering.
I contacted her in advance and gave duplicate key. I told her what had just happened. She was furious and offered to pick me up, but I declined. I was grateful to her, but I knew that I would have to give in if I wanted to keep her happy. I couldn't foresee what she was going to tell me later. After hanging up the phone, I decided to consult a lawyer just in case. I sent him my evidence as I intended to use it against her in case she was kicked out after the trip. If it was determined that there was premeditation, and they have found concrete evidence that would support it? The lawyer assured me that I could decide to. After the call, mental and physical exhaustion hit me hard, and I laid the fresh grass. I ended the day in an open field with a beautiful night view and chilly breeze. The next morning, I met up with Kate's family just in time for breakfast.
Emily, did you stay in the woods? I bet you didn't even clean yourself so filthy.
Spencer tried to stop her, but she changed the subject. By the looks of things, that forcing me out was too much. She bragged happily that the hotel nice. Cian's smile was my only console on back home. When we got home, Kate immediately.
What is all this? Don't play with.
There were rules posted all over them. She must have read some of them because her face turned red and she became furious. Then Spencer showed the IU to her. Red face immediately turned pale. Her mouth was agape in confusion. At first, she tried to deny it, but after grilling her, we found out that she was on a spending spree with her husband's life insurance money. When the money ran out, she couldn't afford her habit and had to borrow it. Spencer and I continued on our way.
I can't have someone who has debts with us. I would ask you to leave. Of course, I have proof of what you to me, so I will sue you.
I played the recording and let her it. As she listened, her face became white and she begged me to let her go. I told her that she could stay as long as she followed the rules and refrained from aggressive behavior. She eagerly agreed and apologized.
I'm very sorry. Please help me.
I never thought I would ever see her state and was very satisfied. When I thought it was finally over, buckled, and I fell to the floor. Spencer sat me down in a chair and started yelling at her about the delays. I guessed his respect and trust for me had crashed down. She must have never imagined that there would be a day when she would be scolded by her son and frantically apologize. After it was all settled, she kept stared at the sky for the rest of it. The atmosphere of the household changed drastically the next day. I woke up early in the morning as us prepared breakfast. It must have become a habit, or just for butt, Kate immediately made a nasty remark. What was different about Spencer's attitude?
Mom, we just talked about this, yes.
He spoke out in a firm tone, so she listened to his words and went to sit on the couch. I almost laughed a little. At the he held it in and went back to prepare breakfast. Spencer felt guilty about not being protector and couldn't stand strong Kate, who raised him. I knew in my heart that he was a kind man. There must have been something on his blind eyes, so I didn't blame H. I really needed him on my side, but couldn't hate the man I fell in love with. He apologized to me in tears. After that, he started to notice Kate's attitude towards me improving day by day. She still found a few small things to criticize, but I didn't feel any malice from her. I hoped she was going to stay like I could finally live with ease and healthy mind. The debt payment was $700 a month. Spencer and I cooperated to pay it. As Kate was too old to work, I got a part-time job and was balancing work and home life. She was responsible for taking my son from daycare, and she did a great job. Because of her bad habits, Spencer's finances are in a mess. My family changed little by little better. No matter how much you love your husband, your mother-in-law is terrible, and you're thinking about divorce. I couldn't bring myself to do that. We had separated earlier. I didn't have to hear those terrible remarks about myself out in the field. Fortunately, I found an IU that helped me rebuild my family. Maybe I was lucky. I'm also grateful to my friend for encouraging me. Without her, I had no one to vent my frustrations to. I would have had a mental breakdown. I feel from the bottom of my heart that I must keep cherishing our friendship. Whenever I remember the pain I've been through, I get teary and pat my own back. At least I have tried my best to hold my family together, even when I was depressed and had no motivation to cook or clean. I still completed tasks so that everyone could have a decent life. I've tried my best to make sure that is not inconvenienced. That's why the sense of accomplishment in my heart. I may never be able to forgive Kate, but she will always be my mother-in-law. I would like to treat her kindly. A few years have passed since then, and my son has grown up to start preschool. We're almost finished paying off our mortgage, and we're considering moving to a new house. Kate has started to help me a little then. My relationship with Spencer has become better than ever, and we're even talking about having another child. My family is already very stable, and we are very content now. I will continue to do my best for my